just get over here.
Okay. Yeah. Oh my God. Okay. Hi, everyone. Now we have the CEO of HumanX here. You want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Stefan Weitz. I am the CEO and co-founder of HumanX.
Yeah.
And
The most important man in Vegas right now at the
Oh,
moment, I would say.
think that's true.
It's true. It is true. There's a lot of really impressive people here, but you guys make this happen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we did. No, it was good.
This is so cool. I just want to say, this is not a commercial podcast, but I would say, I feel like this is one of the most high quality bands
Okay.
I've been to.
Well,
I've been to a lot of really amazing stuff.
You get a free RX bar for that.
Thank you, Amazon, for sponsoring this. I'm just kidding.
Yes, thank you, Amazon, for letting us use your booth.
Okay, so to start with, I would love for the audience to get to know you a little bit more. So you
Sure.
worked on Bing at Microsoft for many years.
I did.
And why don't we talk about how did you pivot from tech to
I'm still in tech.
Yeah, still in tech. This is one of the major tech conference right now.
Yeah.
And then why don't we start the HumanX introduction story, just because
Sure.
this is the HumanX 1 and it's already amazing.
Oh, jeez, thanks.
And okay, let's start.
Sure. Okay, so HumanX stories. So I'm a nerd. I'm a geek. I've been writing code since I was a little kid.
You're that guy.
Exactly.
It's literally
yes,
half of the podcasts are like that guy.
Okay, well, then in that case, look,
you're in line with the
you're
right
going to be
people.
okay. I'll put it that way. And I'm much older than everybody, I'm sure. So when I was a nerd, it wasn't cool to be a nerd, and I was a nerd. But anyway, so I did that for years. Went to Microsoft when I was pretty young, and really did a ton of stuff there. It's the best education you're ever going to get being at Microsoft. So loved that, and then left Microsoft to go run a PE-backed company in the logistics space, actually the second largest behind Amazon, which is that no one knows about. Did that for a while and then sold that and started a bunch of other companies. But at the end of the day, I love AI. I love tech. That's what I did at Microsoft for a while. And when I saw Transformers pop in 2017, and then we saw the GPTs start becoming more viable in 19 and 22, I was excited, not because I thought, oh my gosh, we have AI, because it's, as we all know, GPTs are really applied stats, not necessarily AI in the classical sense, but we had a better human-computer interaction model, which really helps people interact with machines differently. That was really cool. So I called a bunch of my buddies who run big companies and I said, hey, what's your AI strategy? And all of them, no, not all, 90% of them said either I don't have one or I've got one and it's good and I know they're lying. And so I said, if we're relying on enterprises to deploy AI technology successfully right now, we're going to end up under-delivering on the promise of AI or making a lot of problems in AI because companies are just trying pilots everywhere. One company I talked to had 217 pilots running at once.
Oh, wow.
Which the cost must have been just astronomical. And so that made me nervous. As a nerd who wants to see AI come to life, I want my C-3PO, I want my Knight Rider, I want Kit, all those things. It made me nervous because I know what's going to happen. These enterprises are going to do 217 pilots. Most of them are going to fail. And so then these companies who thought they'd hit a gold mine because they have, 10 million ARR in year one, comes year two, that ARR is gone and then they're back to zero. So it was we risked an AI winter, if you will, where people would be disillusioned by the progress. And so I thought we have to do something to pull people in on the enterprise side, the company side, who have questions, who have concerns, and match them up with the best kind of AI minds in the world, building products at these companies, and hopefully that connection will drive clarity for those companies, and it'll help the AI companies because now they have real revenue and real companies to sell to. So that was the idea.
Wow, I definitely feel like there's a need to connect the enterprise who are in charge of the R&D and budget and everything to the technology or the most innovative people in the world.
Yeah.
And I wonder, maybe we go to when did you start it? When do you think about starting HumanX? And then obviously, this is not the first project you and your co-founder have done. You guys have such an amazing track record. Why don't we talk about the crazy stuff? Obviously, I didn't even know event itself is such a huge business, and it's money 2020 and everything else. And then how does this play into the entire tech strategy? Because nowadays I feel like event is making a major comeback. I don't think it's never ever gone, but it's more of in the past it's just coming from the other side of the media experience, everything online to everything in person right now. So it's a huge shift. And then when they're not shift, but I guess
it kind of ebbs and flows. Right, exactly.
So
we saw companies like Hopin that were worth $2 billion during COVID, whereas an online conference business, and
exactly. Now it's
everyone
gone.
thought, yeah, it's gone, and everyone thought that was going to be the next thing. Like these conferences are dead. And, And again, we were all, I think, living in that Zoom bubble, and that makes sense,
for
right?
sure. Yeah.
But
this is so huge. Also, like I feel like I can't believe this is like HumanX 1. This is like such a established conference, and I like. Can you just talk about like the behind the scene of this?
Sure.
Just because like from the first conversation, who was the first guest or sponsor or event?
Who was
like,
the first guy or gal that I got?
Yeah.
I mean, we have 330 incredible speakers, as you said.
Yeah.
And like
only 300. Why do I feel like they're like 2,000?
No, 330 speakers.
Okay. Yeah.
Speakers, not attendees. Speakers. So people on stage.
Yeah. By the way, a lot of them are podcast guests.
That's what you said. That's what you said. That's what you said.
Yeah.
So. I don't remember who the first person who said yes was, honestly. It may have been Ben Nee at Google, honestly. The first probably 30 or 40 speakers were just me and John and my advisor, Larry, who's really well known as well in the Valley. Just calling our friends.
Yeah.
And saying,
okay. I have a question on that. So like, but on the other hand, like building a huge conference like this, and then I guess like I don't know how many people are actually behind the scene. Obviously, there's like, it's very generally very well organized, as like it's like a 3,000 people event, and then there's like 2 floors, and then a lot of people live in the hotel, and like how do you even start with the operational stuff? Do you hire like a team, or like what is going on?
I mean, my leads, I have a head of marketing for acquisition, ops lead, content and speakers, and then that takes care of media and everything else under that bucket. Creative, so all the design you see around you, and then revenue, so sales, basically. So those are the 5 leads that I have. And then they have teams beneath them, and so between the ops.
Do you build the team from scratch yourself, or like do you work with other like events vendors? But like this is also not your first.
Well, it's my first. It's not John's first event. It's my first event. But no, we definitely look. The reason this probably feels more polished than a year one event is because I don't know. 2/3 of my executive team came from health, which is John's other event, or Money 2020, and so these are people that have. I could never do this. Like I could never do it at the operational side. I don't know how Ashley, she's the head of ops. I have no idea how Ashley, Becca, Dakota, how they do it, because to your point, there are, I forget how, 1,500 different signs that have to be made. There are literally 300 pages of work orders for the hotel, everything from AV to food. So it's mind blowing how complex it is.
For sure. So like for you and your co-founder, I guess like how do you guys think about teaming up? And then obviously like you have a huge track record on the event side, and then what's the vision for HumanX? Because also you're coming from, I guess, like tech.
I'm from tech, exactly. And my partner John also, he was an early tech entrepreneur, sold 2 companies to Google, and then at Google he was running Google Wallet, and he went to these fintech conferences and said these things suck. And so he said, I'll do my own. So he wasn't a conference guy either. He was a tech guy too, which is pretty funny. Where do we go? So I think that you alluded to it earlier. The value of these things is not. It is the content. People like the content, but you can, to your point, you can kind of get content anywhere. And so what people tell us, and all the surveys that we did prior to starting the event, was that what they really find valuable is that person-to-person connection.
Totally.
And so the question we're asking ourselves internally is, well, how do you create more of that throughout the year without having to do events? Events like these just take too long to plan, and you can't do more than, maybe you can do 2 a year, but that's it. So how do you create virtual, online, offline, hybrid communities where a person in marketing in Minnesota and a person in marketing in San Francisco, who both have questions around AI and both need it for their business, for their organization, how do we put those 2 together in a way where they can help each other? And so that's a lot of the work we're doing now, is to say, how do we create a virtual, maybe there's co-locations in physical places too. That's important. The community is a big important part.
For sure. Who was your ICP at the very beginning? It's because I feel like for me, like as a founder and then coming from the Bay Area, literally this is like the whole entire Bay Area migrated here. The important people in the Bay Area are here. So
a lot of them,
I call it like the Tech Influencer Olympic, just because this is like literally the Tech Influencer Olympic.
That's funny. ICP, it honestly changed a lot, because we initially thought, and I still do, that enterprises are the ones that need a lot of the help. But what I also found out in talking to a lot of enterprises is that they don't want to admit they need help, because if you say, I don't know what I'm doing in AI, your board will fire you.
Right.
And so we went very hard on that at the beginning and realized, like, they're not going they're not going to come if we position this as come learn, because they already should be knowing what to do. so we said, okay, well, how do we go after function? So like, who's the marketing officer, who's the finance officer? So not the executives per se, but they're executives, but not necessarily like the CEOs and CMOs, more like the VP marketing, VP ops, VP dev, because they have a little more, hopefully, growth mindset to go and say, that's what I need to go do. And so we did a lot of targeting there to get them to come. But the ICP, honestly, until you run the event year one, you don't really know who it is. It's kind of who shows up. And now we have a really good sense of who's here and where we want to prune and add. But it is it's a curious business, that's for sure.
For sure. Yeah. That's so interesting. So I guess like when you identify the function, like do you talk to the customer or like what's the journey?
Yeah.
We're just speaking the tech language here.
Exactly.
Right?
No,
like,
this is
how do you do like user experience?
I'm a product manager. That's what I've did for many years. So ethno studies. Yeah. So we initially we went out to a bunch of, we broke down into roles and whatnot, and then we have either friends or we put surveys out to kind of see what they needed.
Is it like paper survey, or do you just chat with like, hey Sarah, let's get on the phone?
Blah, blah, blah. We did quant and qual both. Yeah, and then we did a 1,100 person survey through Harris, the big polling company. And my friend runs Harris.
That's serious.
Yeah, the real one. And they got 250,000 data points of data after that. We got after that, and then we could slice that down to everything.
What's the insight of that?
The most troubling insight off of that, it's kind of silliest insight, was that when we got the data back, 91% of respondents said that they were a top two box, not aware of AI, but understood AI basically. So in other words, top two box, 90% said I am well versed in AI. And I told the team, I said, you must have flipped the numbers, because there's no universe where 90% of executives say they are versed. It's impossible. And it must mean 10% are well versed and 90% aren't versed. He said, no, that's the number. So what it told me was, you've got this, again, no one wants to say they don't understand it. So they're just thinking, I understand AI. I'm like, there's no way that a manufacturer of whatever shower curtain rods in Cleveland understands the low level rag numbers. So that was an insight. I think people weren't being honest with themselves as to what they needed to know. The other insight was what people thought AI would do for their companies and what AI actually did for their companies were very different. So most people thought, I'll have top line revenue growth, I can reduce costs. Those were like the big things they were all focusing on. What actually showed in the data that worked were things like customer service automation. So like less sexy stuff, that's what drove the value. And so that was interesting because it just showed the hype curve getting in the way. And so just forget it. Like, this is business case 101. If you're a company and you can make an investment, what do? Build a business case, and you figure out what you can deploy and how much it's going to cost and what your return is going to be. And in AI, we just got so ahead of ourselves that people were just deploying everything and hoping that something would stick. So that was the problem there.
So what's your vision for this? Like, would you say it's like this year's AI, next year's AI until crypto comes back? So like,
no,
I'm sorry, but like I feel
I
like
have no desire for crypto.
Honestly, like as like people in venture, I feel like that's your job to like follow every trend, or like before that every trend pop off, like you have to jump on a little bit before. So like, what's the thought process behind?
Well, the reason we call it HumanX and not like human AI or something like that, because it really is the HumanX is humans are exponentially more powerful with technology.
Oh, wow.
That's the idea.
That.
So today it's human times AI or human AI to the AI. But if tomorrow or 2 years, 3 years from now, there's something else that still augments human creativity and reduces drudgery and everything else, that can be the focus. So really, this is meant to be more around how humans and machines work together to make our lives generally better for all. That's we can kind of pivot however we need to based on that thesis.
Wow, I love that. Would you say, I guess, like how do you think about the buyer persona? So like, for example, we talk about like the different function of different tech companies and like also, it's like the competition of events. Like,
it's crazy.
It's crazy. Like every day, there's like last week, like a lot of people went to, I guess, the lobby thing or like the Montgomery Summit,
my buddy Dave's thing. Up front,
like
Montgomery.
Oh my God,
all very different though. Like the lobby stuff is Dave Hornick's thing, which is incredible.
He has a podcast guest too.
Oh, he was.
Three out of the four partners there went on our show.
So, I love Dave, and the lobby it's a great event. It's not commercial. Like you don't get good business. I mean, maybe I haven't been in a few years, but no, I mean, mostly it's there to exchange ideas, and so it's not. There's no buyer seller necessarily at maybe it's in the consumer enterprise one wasn't like a buyer seller thing. So, but amazing. Montgomery, that's by Wes Nichols' firm, right? It is.
It's March.
March Capital. Yeah. That's really good. Again, a lot of just insights happening there. There's a lot of buying, selling. And
so
then,
how do you I guess my question is how do you define HumanX versus 5 other VC conference?
Right.
And then there's Google Next happening.
Google Next and South by Southwest and Abundance 360
South by Southwest.
and GTC.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. That's all happening
That's a lot.
now.
It's a lot. Well, again, if you look at what John's done previously with his events, Shop Talk, 2020, and Health, it's I mean, hopefully you feel here, it's more of a festival than a trade show. So there's a combination of great content. That's non-negotiable. Yeah. But then you really do have those buyer and seller conversations. People come to Health, for example, or hopefully HumanX more going forward because they have a problem to solve. And so the question we always ask is, how can we bridge those buyers, if you will, with sellers? We have entire programs. We have an entire AI system that actually buyers say, I have these problems. We have sellers. We go to the sellers and say, here are the problems they have. Can you provide a solution? If so, they get matched up. And then we had 700 meetings over here in Solution Bridge.
Oh, wow. Where we had Solution Bridge?
Yeah. That's the name. Exactly.
That's the name.
It's my name. No one else liked it. But we have 700 meetings there where we literally have qualified. We qualify the buyers. We make sure they actually are really a buyer, that they have money, that they have a timeline, and a real need. And we have them there, and then we have all the sellers who come in and plug in. So you could think of us as incredible content, but also focused on solutions to problems, and not just talking from the stage, pie in the sky stuff that's there. So and it's a little different, but it's there's a lot of great conferences that just are for content too, which is great as well.
Yeah, wow, that's crazy. So I guess what's the repeatability from different things like Shop Talk, like Money 2020, and then now HumanX? How do you, I guess, what is a consistent thing that's there? I guess it's one perspective is the commercialization. It's people doing business here. And I guess how do you, number one, is when you're pairing people up, how was that happening? It's what does the technology look like? And then I know that I'm coming from the media perspective, so we have these type form that people just talk about who is your top 3 and who is your top 3, that kind of stuff, and then you kind of match. But I guess what's a back end kind of look like? Is that by when you say AI, what does that entail? How do is it people tag themselves into different tags, and then it's just sort of
so my team actually talks to all the buyers and understands what they actually need, and that we think
everybody.
Every single buyer that's approved as a buyer, we talk to personally.
Yeah, buyer meaning sponsors or
literally someone at JP Morgan says, I have a problem with my data governance. So I need to buy a solution for data governance. So we say, okay, well, do you actually have money? Do you actually have time frame? Or are you just kicking the tires?
But how do you vet these information?
You don't get it right. You don't always get it right. I mean, you talk to them, and you don't always get it right. But if you get it wrong, then then the sellers make good with the seller somehow.
Right.
But we're team's pretty good. So the team is really good. So then we understand that. We catalog it all. That goes into LLM, and then we have another system on the side that'll actually look at all the sellers that we know and have. We know their capabilities, and then after everyone kind of selects their preferences, you hit a big red button, and the AI goes and matches everyone up and creates a schedule for those people. And says, here's your schedule. If you don't like something, you have 2 days or 3 days to kind of change it, and otherwise, this is your buyer and seller schedule. So that's how it works.
Wow, love that. How do you think about creating the continuous conversation? So I know that you guys already kind of started looking at next year's HumanX. So how long does it take to plan this thing? And then you guys have literally every company sponsors this thing. How do you even go about budgeting and then thinking about the fundraising perspective, thinking about the sponsorship packages, and then thinking about all these kind of stuff? What goes through your brain?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the reason we raise venture money for this is because it's really hard to do an event in year one that makes money. That doesn't feel like you're trying to make money. You have to cut a lot. The food we have here is really good, right?
Exactly.
And the
everything
AV
is so
flawless, right? And so that's the experience we want everyone to have. So to do that, you can't you can't make money in year one. There's no way. And so you raise venture money so you can lose money in year one, and then you move into year two. You maybe
I think
break even.
honestly, raising from a media business is kind of suicidal, just because it's so hard. And obviously this was very successful, and I feel like I have a lot of admiration for the crypto people as well, just because I don't just crypto people
crypto, yeah.
in general, just as a category, they're living on events. I don't really know what's going on.
Well, there are events where it's basically it's within the industry they kind of sell to each other,
right?
Which is fun. That's a perfectly fine event, but it's just different than ours.
Obviously, I feel like the non-crypto event wise, this is a pretty good conference. I would say this is amazing, and then the people here are very high quality. Literally, I would meet the CEO of Dropbox and CEO of Airtable within 2 minutes. It's crazy.
Everyone's here.
Yeah, everyone's here.
I thought they may have even 3 minutes actually. So I got to talk to that writer. So she's.
Oh my god. Yeah.
Let me make sure I have my calendar correct.
Okay. Yeah. Actually, we're live. Yeah.
I know we're live. Sorry.
No, it's okay. He's very busy today.
No, we're not busy. Okay. Yeah.
But we're live, so I think we're published first.
Oh, yeah, you definitely are.
It's already on. It's on 6 different platforms. Within 24 hours, our team is going to put it on
everywhere.
I
love it.
Yeah, and then we're going to do shorts, which will lead to hopefully meaningless views.
I love the idea. I feel like you have this down. I think I have this down.
Yeah, exactly.
Look, we're just it's a crazy business, but it's one that's why we raise venture money, so we can actually create experiences that feel polished and great. And then then next year hopefully we can.
What's your vision for yourself? What does as a CEO of HumanX mean? So obviously I feel this is gigantic amount of operational stuff. And then how do you think about your time as CEO of that thing?
Well, I mean, it's
how do you work with a co-founder too? So
with John, yeah. I mean, and Andrew's another co-founder as well. He came as well. He's a younger in career person who's spectacular, and so really it's 3 of us. My time is spent a lot on thinking about the content themes, what do we need to be doing, what are the questions we're seeing people ask out there in the world. I'm not very good operationally. That's why we have Ashley and her team. That's not my skill. Then I have no design sense whatsoever. So that's why Laura does all that stuff, and she basically says, "Do you like this?" I'm like, "I guess. You tell me if it's good." And Caitlin is marketing, so she does all the marketing pieces, and she's excellent at that. So I'm in many cases, especially in year one, I took out the crash, I did the 401k match, and then I also would be the CEO. That's what you do as a CEO in year one. But it's and then John is he's so good at all the operation, the pieces that I have my opinions of how I want on the tech and how I want the content to be and who wants on stage.
How do you want to decide on the content? Literally all the VCs are here, and then all the tech leaders are here. How do you say, hey, you're going to talk about blah 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 with blah 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 person? Yeah. And how is these panel structured?
This is Louise and Manon and Brian and Barry, the whole content team. They basically they put the themes together, they go out to all the speakers, and then they lock themselves in a room for literally 3 weeks, I think, and it's a big board, and they go through and start
who and what else,
and then they have to go, then because a lot of the people are very, very important, and public company CEO people, then you have to, we have just all moderators except for a few, usually big media is moderating as well, and so we have to go, and they have to go and prove is this okay if this person moderates your panel or not? Or is this person interviewing you? Is there a problem here? And then the PR firms get involved. And literally Louise and Brian and all of them, they have to literally one by one, each of those little sessions you see on the calendar, it is excruciating to get it all pulled together. Yeah. I don't know how they do it, honestly.
What would you say is the most unexpected thing for your conference?
Well, I probably have to run, but
run.
No, it's good. It's I don't know why it's unexpected, but I always, the interactive sessions, the sessions like Kevin Wheel yesterday or Vanil Coast the other day, they're just packed with people. And that shouldn't be unexpected, but it's also it's just refreshing to see people actually want to have a conversation versus just read something on their phone. So you kind of see everyone and they're excited to see Kevin, they're excited to see Vanil, excited to see Sridhar, all these folks, right? And so, and the speakers, so is this okay? I love doing this stuff. This is why being on stage is fine, But being in a room like Thomas Wolf from Hugging Face was downstairs, like literally doing a dev talk with a bunch of nerds in the room like me and asking these questions. And he's like, this is exactly what I want to do. This is what I want to do. So that's exciting and unexpected for me to see kind of that level of interaction with some of the biggest people in the world and other people who are everyday Americans, everyday citizens of other countries. So.
Love that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so
man.
much.
So fun,
Thank
Grace.
you so much.
Thanks so much. Sorry I have to run,
Appreciate
but
you.
I can't keep him
Go.
waiting.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much.